Hello, thank you all for joining our webinar this afternoon featuring Meridian's Personnel Management Kiosk. My name is Melissa Harward and I am our marketing coordinator here at Meridian. Our panel today also consists of Dominic Atteville, our industrial designer, and then Paul Burden, our director of software. So this webinar is going to consist of a brief overview of the solution, and then we're going to allot the majority of the time remaining in the hour to question and answer sessions. So without further ado, we will get started. So a little bit about Meridian. Meridian is a fully integrated manufacturer of indoor and outdoor kiosks, digital signage, and self-service software. We develop all of our products and services under one roof at our Aberdeen, North Carolina facility. And we have all of our software is housed in Mississauga, Canada. We have a full-scale production facility, a 13-acre manufacturing campus, full metal fabrication facility, and we are ISO 9001, 2015, and a UL self-certified facility. So a little bit about the hardware for the Personnel Management Kiosk. Our Personnel Management Kiosk is designed to protect the health and safety of employees and guests by helping to prevent anyone with a temperature from entering or accessing a facility. So some of the features include temperature verification, facial identification, temperature threshold alarms, and it is comprised of an anodized aluminum finish, and we are currently offering a pedestal configuration with plans to offer a countertop and wall-mounted configuration in the near future. So look at those configurations. Like I mentioned, we're currently offering the pedestal configuration. It's 60.5 inches tall from the bottom of the base to the top of the head unit. The pedestal is 6 inches wide, and then the base of the unit is 19 inches wide, just for a little bit of context in picturing how it might fit with your facility. Like I mentioned, we're currently only offering the pedestal, and you'll see to the right an option to include it with graphics. On our website, we have a robust section of resources to download, and among those resources are graphic templates. So those can be downloaded, and we're working with print shops across the country if graphics are something that are of interest to you and your organization. This is a look at the countertop option as well. You'll see that the head unit is exactly the same as is the design, simply a shorter countertop version. Moving on to software. So the software for this solution is a custom-built board-level software solution. So each kiosk out of the box comes equipped with this board-level solution. Some of the features include LAN or Wi-Fi connectivity. It's FCC and CE certified, and it has the ability to recognize up to 30,000 faces and includes the ability to integrate voice prompts. Diving a little bit deeper into some of the settings on the board level solution, this is what the menu looks like on the device itself. It has an option for the body temperature test, which can be turned off if you just want to use the facial recognition settings. Compensation temperature calibration to offset the red temperature and calibrate to environmental changes. So you'll see over here, you can go up for normal or low conditions and down for high conditions. An alarm threshold that can be in Celsius or Fahrenheit, and this is the value at which the alarm is triggered. The body temperature alarm, which dictates whether or not the alarm sounds when a user passes the temperature threshold. Mask detection, which is another feature that can be turned on or off. When users check in without wearing a mask, they can be denied entry, even if their temperature is normal if you have mask detection on. And then at the bottom is stranger mode. So if you have stranger mode on, strangers are allowed to enter the building. If you have stranger mode off, it denies strangers access and only allows those registered users to enter the facility. Going a little bit deeper, you'll see an example of our employees, some of which have entered their faces into our database. So employees or approved visitors can easily be added into the database in a matter of seconds. Some of the informational fields that are added include their name, their type, so for example, staff or visitor, an expiration date, so you'll see our staff members are in here as their expiration date, they're in here forever. For example, we had visitors on campus, and you can put them in here for a certain number of days. So for example, you could put their expiration date as May 22nd, and they would be allowed to enter until May 22nd. A picture is also uploaded. M0 Manage is something that we are also getting a lot of questions about. This integration is going to be available at the end of May. And this is a software solution that Meridian has been using for our kiosks for a number of years, but it's currently being developed for integration with the personnel management kiosks specifically. So the function of M0 Manage is to manage multiple kiosks in remote locations. So you're able to add and edit a list of employees, import a list of employees, and export reports on the classic M0 Manage user interface, all of which can be done from a desktop computer. So that is a brief overview of the solution. We've now reached our question and answer session. If you have questions, feel free to submit them and we will answer those now. So the first question is, how does this differ from a thermal imaging camera?
I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is a little bit different than a regular thermal imaging camera because you do get the back end of M0 Manage, as well as some of the features on the device itself, such as reporting the users that do get approved to enter the building, as well as the alarms, the lights, the pedestal itself, as well as just the fact that this is just a user-free solution. You don't need to put someone in front of the building with a thermal camera or a handheld heat, sensing device to individually scan everyone. You can just place this kiosk in your lobby and have it do all that for you.
Next question asks, is the temperature alert considered PHI?
I'm not familiar with that acronym.
Yeah.
If you can provide a little bit of clarification as to what PHI stands for, we can get that answered for you. The next question asks, is it possible to have the personnel kiosk answer several questions and have them answered with voice or touch on the device?
The unit, as it is the Android tablet, is non-touch. So it's a product as is. We are, however, developing a Windows version of this, which will have far more flexibility and the question and answer, touchscreen capabilities, and potentially voice interactions will be something we're going to be putting on the roadmap for that solution. So yeah, coming soon.
The next question asks, does the Meridian Kiosk collect, use, or share biometric information, or is the data it collects considered something else?
Well, it collects the temperature. So it depends on which mode you have. It will either collect employees' temperature or also visitors' temperature, and it will save it onto the software at the tablets level. If you have M0 Managed subscription, it will also report it there as well.
The next question asks, can the kiosk clock people in?
Yeah, you can use it as a clock. It records the timestamp of when somebody came in. So you can relate that data to entry time. So if you want to use it to manage attendance, time and attendance, you will. We do have on a roadmap as well with M0 Manage, an attendance module that we will be adding probably in our third release. where it'll allow you to manage when working hours are and the expectation for somebody to check in. So we will be adding those features as time goes on.
The next question asks about the availability of the unit. As far as lead times go, we're currently looking at about 4 to 6 weeks for lead times. Next question asks, can this be integrated with an access control system?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to do that right now. Actually 3 ways. So the first way would be the traditional way, which is for door access. There's Wigand pigtail connectors that come out of the unit, and that could be wired into a physical door security system you may already have in that configuration. So when you scan the face, it triggers that system. Additionally, there's a relay output, a 2-wire dry contact relay that can also trigger something like a door opening or a gate opening or something of that nature. The third type would be through M0 managed subscriptions. We have APIs that you'd be able to tie into the system. So as an entry occurs, it'll notify a system through a REST interface. And also, you'd be able to manage the employee's database. So if face recognitions, and that would be logged, and you'll be able to access that information, entry histories, and manage the employees.
The next question asks, are you able to only check temperatures and not utilize facial recognition?
Yeah, it would be guest mode with record off. So in that case, it will use the face to trigger a temperature scan. So it'll only start scanning once it recognizes a face, and then it will scan the temperature. But it's not going to utilize recognize the person. So it would just say that there was a face there and there was a temperature and it occurred at this time. That's all you would know.
The next question asks, can you sync and add employees via Microsoft Active Directory?
Well, Manage will have APIs, M0 Manage. When we release that, we'll have the capability to connect systems together. I know that Active Directory is a request that we've had a lot, so I suspect that it would be very early in the roadmap to integrate with Active Directory. So hopefully more information will be released on that. But your developers can either use the REST interfaces from Manage to connect these systems together and synchronize them, or you could wait, I suppose, until the roadmap is complete for that item, which I don't have a definite date on that.
The next question asks, what is the M0 Manage software release date?
It's at the end of the month, so it's 29th, I believe. Yep, 29th.
Next question asks, are there calibration requirements for the temperature check? If so, how often is calibration required?
So what I recommend here is that when you the device is pre-configured, and what you should probably do is verify once in a while that the device is still accurate by using another measuring device. There's generally no need to really calibrate it unless there's significant temperature changes in the environment. So if you've went from one extreme temperature to the other, you can compare with another sensor, another heat sensing device. And it's possible then to enter variants within the software as needed to compensate for the temperature, but it largely depends on ambient temperature. So there'd be potentially a slight variance if you enter extreme temperatures near the end or start of the operating range, temperature-wise.
Next question asks, how accurate is the temperature measurement? So the temperature accuracy is less than plus or minus 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit.
And we are finding our readings are much tighter than that, or we're just taking these, the verbiage from the FDA's recommendations.
So we can go back to that first question. I got clarification as to what they meant by PHI. So that question again was, is the temperature alert considered personal health information?
Okay, yeah, I'm usually familiar with PII. Yeah, it is potentially could be considered that. This has not been third-party evaluated for HIPAA compliance, so you will have to consider that when purchasing it. You need to review with your own security teams to see if the data that you're collecting is appropriate for your use case. So I recommend you take that approach. We are working with these organizations to see what kind of certifications or third-party audits we can achieve with that, but as of right now, there's no HIPAA certifications or compliance stated here.
Next question asks, can a report of who checked in and if their temperature raised the alarm be exported?
Yeah, so when somebody checks in, it will create a log on the system, on the device itself. It will be available. We can store 1 gig of log entries, so it takes a photograph and a measurement at the time. These can be exported by using administrator password to go to the settings screen. You can then attach a USB compact flash device to the USB port and click the export button. It will generate a file with the entry records. The other way to do it is the more automated way. When M0 managed subscriptions are available, it will automatically upload all of the logs and entry data centrally. So you'd be able to see real-time reports and aggregate all of the data from all of your devices into one location.
Next question asks, does the kiosk keep a log of all temperatures taken regardless of whether they passed or failed?
That's true. It now logs all results, all outcomes.
Next question asks, is the user temperature database stored in the cloud or on the actual kiosk device?
Depends on if you have an M0 managed subscription or not. So as a standalone device, it will only be on the tablet itself. So it's sort of locked in the enclosure. Nobody has access to that except the administrator. You need the admin password, and then you need to go into the menu of the application to view the data. It's retained on the device itself. Unless you have M0 managed, then it will securely transfer that data up to the cloud environment, and only you have access to that data or authorized users. That we stored in our compliant SOC2 data center.
Next question asks, is the device customizable to display a message as well as sound the alarm if it detects a high temperature?
It is a standard message. So as you approach the kiosk and a condition is reached, it will give you some voice prompts. These are standard. We have it in 16 languages, so they're predetermined. If you want to customize the prompts, we can do that. If you have a specific, like a higher quantity order, some customizations are possible, but I suggest you speak to sales about the quantity you're ordering and how, if it's high enough, we might be able to customize that voice for you. So in order to do that, you would need to provide the audio files. I believe there's 6 audio files. And you can also customize the language in the prompts. We'd have to build a specific version for you. So please discuss that with your sales rep.
The next question asks, if there is an alert due to high temperature or a non-approved person, can a notification be sent to someone? If so, how does that work?
Yes, so when M0 Manage is released, the end of this month, we will have a recording of when all conditions occur, and we will be managing email alerts initially, and then subsequently SMS alerts through that service. So you can notify somebody that something occurred. You'd have to log into the managed server to view the actual result, although you could do that on your mobile phone. So for instance, if you got the alert by SMS, you could log into through a web-based site to view that data and what occurred.
Next question asks, is the temperature 1 or 2 decimal places?
1 decimal place.
Next question asks, can the kiosk be integrated with Brevo access system?
So the answer will be the same for all access systems. We mentioned earlier in the call the Wigand interfaces. So that's one way to do it. The other one is the relays, and then we'll have APIs for M0 Manage that will be able to facilitate integration with other systems. So I hope that answers it.
The next question asks, can photos be uploaded, or do you have to take an actual photo?
Yeah, so if you have photos in the right format, so there's some constraints. It has to be a clear face shot with the person standing with good lighting, no shadows on their face, and it has to be of a specific size. So we'll publish those requirements. But if you have a photo that meets such requirements or a batch of them, we will enable you to import those into M0 Manage, and through M0 Manage, it will propagate to the devices. There's no way to import on the standalone device. You'd have to take the photo from the device itself. But through M0 Manage, there will be the ability to create individual records or do a bulk import.
The next question is regarding schools. So we want to integrate to take the student's temperature, but do not want to store student images in a database in the cloud. Can we keep it to temperature only without storing information on the back end?
We can, to accommodate that request, we could turn off image storage in the M0 Manage side if you want to centralize that and only keep the actual temperature reading at that moment. So we could do that on the Manage side. The tablet, as it stands right now, will record the photo. I understand the sensitivity of that particular case, so we're working now on a new version. It's not available yet, but that will have more flexibility on what information is recorded and retained by the device. I hope to have a version soon that disables the photograph portion. That's a frequently asked question, but we don't have that ready yet, but our developers are working on it.
Next question asks, if we have multiple kiosks at different entry points, do they link together for notifications?
Yeah, so if you have M0 Manage and all of the kiosks have been joined to that same Manage account, they are linked together through M0 Manage, and notifications can be sent out. So any of your network has a condition and you have notifications configured, it will send out regardless of which device it is.
Next question asks, when will the Windows version be available?
I don't have a specific date on that, but there's a lot of requests for that, and it is a priority for us. So we're working on that very diligently, and I hope to have some information on the release date soon.
Next question asks, how close does a person have to be to the kiosk for the temperature measurement?
We say between 4 and 2 feet. Ideal range would be about 3 feet, but anything within that range is close enough.
Next question asks, can this trigger or activate other devices? If it can it prevent someone from entering?
Yeah, so it's kind of the other way around. So there's a relay that opens, or sorry, closes, dry contact relay that will close in a condition where somebody is granted access. So if the conditions are clear, or if it's an employee and it recognizes the face, if you have that mode enabled, it will only close the circuit, which would trigger a door or something to open in that case. So if it's any other condition, such as a temperature or a stranger, and you have it in employee only mode, then it will not grant access. So it's sort of a grant access rather than deny access scenario, if that makes sense.
Next question asks, will the kiosk be able to scan badges or QR codes to identify individuals, or is it just facial recognition?
So we do have an option for an integrated card reader that you can add to this unit. They're ISO type 4443 type A, right, which is called MyFair. So if you have that type of card at your facility, or you're looking to roll out cards, we can integrate that kind of a reader in the device, but that's a custom order. So make sure to mention that you want the our MyFair card reader when you order the device, because it's not included by default. And if you have that card, then you can, in combination with the face and temperature scan, you're also required to tap an approved card. So you'd have to be an employee and have the card with you to grant access. Now, that said, there's units and clients currently using the device that also have other card readers that are already part of their system, and they're using this temperature and face recognition in conjunction with their existing infrastructure for card readers. So it is possible through the WAGAN's interface and relay interface to interconnect existing card reader setups with this new device, so because it's currently the case already.
Next question asks, what reporting capabilities are available with the device, with the data it collects? And is this data stored on the device, or is it sent to a Meridian server?
If you don't have a M0 managed subscription and it's a standalone device, it will only be on the individual device itself. If you are a managed subscriber, the data collected will be transmitted to the M0 managed, where you can view that data. So it depends on if you're a subscriber or not.
Next question asks, is the data encrypted on the device?
We don't currently have encryption. However, it is stored on a microchip on the board, the RAM, the ROM chips inside the system, and they are locked inside the kiosk. So the data is protected, but not encrypted. We're looking at means to encrypt that data. I understand the sensitivity of that, and that's something we're definitely looking at. That said, when you have M0 manage in play, all the data in transport and at rest will be encrypted at all times once it leaves the kiosk through the network.
The next question asks, what is the subscription model?
It's a yearly subscription. So I don't recall the price. Do you have that? Do you have that?
Yeah,
quantity one price?
It's $295 per kiosk per year.
Yeah, and that's for one kiosk. So if you're ordering lots more or something, there's price breaks. So that comes down as you increase in volume or your deployment's larger. So
the next question asks, is the API and function published for development? Is there a developer license?
There's no developer license required. So if you have a subscription, you have access to the APIs through Manage. And there is developer support and documents to be provided when they're available. That'll be available around our launch time. And you'll have developer support access through our support ticket system at help.m0.com. And if you email that, it'll create a ticket, and we'll be able to support you through your integration effort.
The next question asks, where is the thermal temperature sensor manufactured? What company is the OEM?
It's a German company called Hyman.
Next question is, are you able to order the kiosk now and add M0 software when that is released?
Yes.
Next question is the temperature accurate for someone that has just exercised?
I did that test myself because that came up in earlier conference calls. So I have mine near an elliptical, and I walked in front of it. It did not change my temperature. So I'm not sure if this is true for everybody, but in my case at least, it didn't seem to have an impact on my body temperature. So it will take whatever the actual temperature is of the face. So if your temperature happens to be high, for whatever reason, be it that you were exercising, it's going to give you a reading of the actual temperature. So we can't really control the temperature of the person or give like or compensate for something like that, but it'll give you an actual reading of the person that's in front of the kiosk. So that's my take on it.
The next question asks, in guest mode, does the kiosk capture a picture of the individual checking in along with their temperature data?
Yes.
Next question asks, does the system have a correction factor for the reading it gets? For example, body temperatures versus surface temperatures.
No, the sensor will only be triggered when there's a face in front of the device. So you'd have to present a face within a reasonable range. And by the time that occurs, you are consuming most of the view of the thermal temperature, so temperature sensor. So you're effectively taking a sample of the face that's entirely consuming the view of the thermal sensor. So it would be only the body temperature that you would see there.
Next question asks if this comes with a warranty. And the personal management kiosk comes with a 1-year return to depot warranty. Next question asks, how long does it take to detect the correct temperature?
About 2 seconds, but it depends as well. For instance, if you have a row of people, there's a few seconds to set up each person. So I think the rate we found, it depends on if you're respecting social distance and things. You could sample about 10 people per minute, I believe was the, but you could possibly go much faster than that because the sample rate is 1 person every 2 seconds, but that's pretty quick movements right there. So it's probably more reasonable to expect 10 people per minute.
Next question asks, how does the kiosk integrate with document management systems outside of M0 Manage?
Document management systems. So we do offer APIs. So you'd be able to use our REST interfaces to control the list of employees, access reports. I'm not sure what functions you planned on using for document management, but you can use those REST interfaces to pull data into that kind of system or any kind of system really is per your needs. So I hope the REST interface would fulfill that need.
Next question asks, is the temperature displayed in Fahrenheit and Celsius?
It's configurable. It's one or the other. It's configurable.
Next question asks, will faces be recognized when wearing a mask?
Yes, it does take a little bit longer to recognize the face with the mask because you only have the eyes exposed. So you're missing the facial features of the nose and the mouth. So it does take a little bit longer to recognize somebody when they're wearing a mask, but they will be recognized.
Next question asks, what are the requirements for the surroundings for the device to work properly? For example, indoors, temperature requirements, lighting, etc.
That's a good question. You probably should not have the kiosk in a really hot environment or near direct sunlight, for instance. If you have a device like a heater or something that gets really hot and it's within maybe 10 feet in front of the device, what'll happen is it'll potentially adjust, like it'll try and compensate for the ambient temperature change. So it'll be difficult to get a reading, but those are some extreme cases. So as long as you keep it in a cool, like within the operating temperature range for ambient air temperature, which is something like 10 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees, if I recall. It's published on our site if you want to verify that.
Yeah, it is 32 Fahrenheit to 140.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you. And as long as there's no direct heat sources around it, such as the sun shining directly on it, you shouldn't have any issues.
The next question asks, how long does it take to process a person? I think they mean as in like adding them into the system.
Oh, I see, adding them into the system. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process if you're doing it right at the device. So you go into the admin screen, enter the admin password with a keyboard. So a keyboard is supplied with the kiosk. You enter the password, you go into the admin screen, and then there's a face database, and then you click a button, you take a snapshot of the person, you enter their name and employee ID. That process would take probably 10 to 40 seconds, maybe a minute to log in and add the first person. If you're familiar with the system, maybe the first time you do it might take you a little longer, but it's fairly quick and painless. So we also, if we have M0 Manage, have the possibility to do bulk imports. So that would really speed up if you have a larger employee base.
The next question asks, without M0 Manage, is there any way to set up notifications to appropriate company personnel?
No.
Next question asks, how many customers do you have that are successfully using the device for temperature measurement? I don't know that we know the exact number that we have, but thousands.
Yeah.
Next question asks, is there setup support? We have a in-house customer service team, and their hours are 8:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. Although setup for the device is very simple, it's a plug and play style unit. So you plug it in and then it's pretty much ready to go. Very, very minimal setup required. Next question asks, have you done repeatability studies of the system?
Well, I think what they're saying is measuring for consistency over time. We'd like, I guess Chris, when he's giving this presentation, he often refers to a hospital that is utilizing our system, and they're doctors and physicians that oversee that operation. And when they do it, they compare with medical equipment that they have at the facility, and they found consistent results with what the device is seeing. And whenever there's an over temperature condition, whenever that's caught, they compare with medically FDA approved external sensor, like a thermometer, and it's comparative results to the device itself. So yeah, as people are operating this, they're seeing consistency over time and accuracy over time.
And that is the last question we have for today's webinar. So we're going to wrap up a little bit early, but if anyone does have any remaining questions, you can always email sales@m0.com. thank you all for your time today. And thank you, Meridian team, as well.
Thanks, Paul.